everybody. Welcome. You are definitely the early crew. We're glad you're here today. My name is Ginger Murphy, and I am on State Representative Melissa Shusterman's staff. We have Phoenixville, most of Phoenixville, not all of Phoenixville, but most of Phoenixville in our district, as well as Schuylkill, Tredyffrin, and Upper Providence. So we are pleased to be able to provide a variety of services, keep you connected to your state government, and hopefully the information you need, help you overcome some of the hassles you might encounter. Needless to say, Real ID is a hot topic these days, and there's a lot to know about it. So I wanted to, first of all, make sure, did everybody pick up these brochures when you walked in? We have a Real ID brochure, and then we have, did you get one?
I did not, actually.
Okay, and then there is also this piece, which is double-sided. It has general information on the front, and then on the back, there's a checklist of documents that you will need when you're gathering what you need processed for your Real ID. And with that, we are partnering with PennDOT, which is the state department under which this falls. And I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Scott Johnson from PennDOT, who will actually do the presentation today, and hopefully be able to answer all your technical questions. And I will be learning right along with you. So welcome, Scott. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So my name is Scott Johnson. I work for Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. PennDOT to most people, right? The only thing I will mention is more specifically within PennDOT, because it's a large organization. I work for Driver Vehicle Services, Driver's License Division, Bureau of Driver's Licensing. I only mention that because I just need you to know that I had nothing to do, if you have a car registration question or something about auto tag or anything like that, I don't do anything with that at all. All we do are driver's license ID cards. In addition to that, I can't help you with any complaints about potholes. Find out who that is, let me know. It's a whole different division. Let's just come down here and talk about Real ID today. Now, I have this huge presentation here. It takes typically about an hour and a half or so to get through, but this is a pretty small group. So I think what we can do is just go through this pretty quickly and just kind of, if you have a question, ask about it, all right? You guys are pretty hardcore. This is the earliest I've ever done one of these, so. 9 o'clock in the morning and talk about Real ID, you're serious.
Yeah.
First of all, if you don't know what Real ID is, I'm trying to keep my voice down. I'm used to kind of stuff. I get a little loud, I
No,
apologize.
please,
Right?
no.
First of all, what Real ID is, it's really just a federal law that standardizes how states are going to issue a driver's license or ID card if it's going to be used for federal purposes. Now really, the majority of that for most people is boarding a domestic aircraft. Other than that, unless you're visiting a nuclear power plant or a federal prison, or plan on visiting a military base, where we can talk about that a little bit later, really doesn't affect you at all, right? But that's all the Real ID is. It's just, the feds have come up with this standard. And I'm sure by now you probably have heard that somebody has applied for Real ID and maybe got rejected because they didn't have the right birth certificate or didn't have the right documents, one way or another. That's the biggest thing that's going on now, because what you need to understand is, as a state, we have our standards. What we're talking about is federal Real ID. In order to make your driver's license federally Real ID compliant, they have deemed what documents they will accept and will not. So that's kind of the rub here. We have, go ahead.
Essentially, this is a driver's license.
That's all it is. It's a license or ID card that you have now, all right? Nothing changes with that. The other thing we're gonna do, if you do want it, you show us the documents that you need. Of course, there's a fee with it. We'll get that in just a second. And then we just put a little gold star on your license. That's really all that it is. It's not a separate product. It's nothing you carry around with you additional or anything like that. Key thing to remember here is this date right here, which is rapidly approaching, right? That's why we're here talking to guys. October 1st, 2020. It'll be here before you know it. To put that in perspective, right now people are planning on traveling next Thanksgiving, right? It's a big travel. People are making plans for that now, especially if it involves family out in Colorado or California or down in Florida or something like that. You're putting those plans together now. Well, it needs to involve this. okay? After October 1st, you have to have some type of federally approved identification to get on that aircraft, all right? Who has a valid US passport? You're good to go, all right? You do not need to get a real ID. The only reason you would even consider it is more of convenience. You don't want to carry it because you're traveling locally, all right? But other than that, you're good to go. You don't have to do anything further. Again, October 1st, but that's when the TSA cracks down every airport. This is nationwide, not just PA. Okay, we're just one of the last ones to get on board with this. Which, by the way, we're one of the last states to get involved, but we're actually ahead of the curve when it comes to the numbers, so let's figure that one out. Real ID is optional. Again, for those of you who have passports, it's optional. If you don't plan on driving or flying, excuse me, or visiting one of those places I mentioned above, you don't need to get a real ID, all right? If you do decide to get one, the cost involved is going to be a one-time fee of $30. That's to opt into the Real ID program. $30 gets that gold star to you. However, it also involves a renewal of your driver's license, right? So it's not really $30, it's going to be $60.50, or if you have an ID card, $61.50. So it's $30 to opt in, $30 to renew your license. Basically what that $30.50 buys you is an additional 4 years to whatever you have now. You don't have to wait for your license expires, right? If your license doesn't expire for 2 years or 3 years, you can still do this now. You don't have to wait. Typically here in PA, you have to wait for like 6 months before you get that card in the mail and you renew your license. You don't have to wait for this. Get a little butt happy here. Now, keep in mind, the $30.50, that's just for standard car license, okay? Cars only. It doesn't include motorcycles, doesn't include trucks, CDLs, or a lot more, trains, buses, spaceships, anything like that. It's just $30 for a normal car license. So take that into account. If you have a motorcycle or CDL, it's going to be just a little bit more, all right? Expiration date, like I said, just take whatever date you have on your current product now and just add 4 years to it. It's that easy. So if your license doesn't expire for 2 years, you go down tomorrow and get a real ID, you're going to get a real ID that's valid for 6 years, right? Now what happens when your next renewal cycle is, that 4 years or 6 years or whatever you happen to end up with, when that license expires, you just go right back in your normal 4-year renewal cycle, right? You'll never pay the $30 again, but you'll be paying for the renewal cycle, just like you do today. Basically what you're doing is you're going to renew it anyway, we're just taking the money up front. You're getting kind of a prorated license, lack of a better term. Everybody got that? You're experts. What else we need to talk about? We'll go through some of the documents. Now keep it, well, this is a pretty small group. We can get into if you have a special circumstance. And these are just, I can give you some general guidelines, all right? I understand that there are some weird names out there, and I say that with love, right? If you don't like your name, you change it, you maybe tweak some of the letters through the years or something like that, that's fine. However, with Real ID, it could now be an issue, all right? If you have a name such as, the most common one is, what do you call that? It's too early for me, a confirmation name. A lot of people have received a confirmation name when they were younger for religious purpose, and they've taken that name for their middle name. It may even be on your driver's license at this point. That's fine. But for Real ID, it's going to cause a problem. It has to come off your license. And if it exists anywhere else, like your Social Security card, it's going to be a problem. Okay. Now, in order to get a Real ID, you need 3 things. You guys have that checklist there. I'm glad you brought that, let's point that out. These are not ORs, okay? There's 3 different categories here. These are ands. This is the first category right here. Pretty much should mirror this, right? You need 3 things. You need a proof of identity. You must have a Social Security card. We'll get to that in just a second. And you must have 2 proofs of residency. There's 3 different things. So the only ORs on here are going to be here, depending on were you born here, did you come here and you become a citizen, or do you have some other type of documents to show your legal status here? It's this, or this, or this, or that, depending on what you have. That's where the ORs come in, all right? Does everybody understand that? Your birth certificate or your passport, but you must have one of them, okay? That's where you hear the OR. So pretty much, the other thing we'll talk about here a little bit is the the birth certificate. Anybody born in Pennsylvania? You guys don't look like you were born before 1970, right? If you were, be careful what you have at home, okay? Because there's another issue we see at the driver's license centers. In the state of Pennsylvania, used to issue, along with a lot of other states, what's called a Pennsylvania birth registration notice. It's basically a little white piece of paper, it's maybe 8 by 10 or so, right across the top it says Pennsylvania birth registration. That is not a birth certificate. You probably used that to get your driver's license. Again, we're talking about state, federal. Actually, we don't even take it for the state any longer. Basically, what the Pennsylvania birth registration notice was a document that was signed by the hospital, given to your parents, to get you registered in school or use it for census purposes or those types of things back in the day. That's all that it is. Any other questions?
So you're referring to the one that comes from the vital statistics that you were, it's.
That's a
yeah.
birth certificate.
Oh,
That's my next point, good question. The easy way to tell, whether you're Pennsylvania or any other state, as far as that's concerned, is who signed the document, right? Who signed it? If it was signed by a hospital or a physician, it's not a birth certificate, all right? The only people that can certify birth certificates are the issuing agency. Pennsylvania would be the Department of Health, for example, right? I can't speak for every state because everyone's different. But whatever they do in that state you were born in, that's where that birth certificate has to come from. Typically it's from the state, but a lot of the northern tier states do it by townships. Some of them, the local county courthouse does birth records, believe it or not. That's who signs and certifies the birth certificate, okay? Don't get too caught up in a race seal thing, because if you just got a brand new birth certificate, it may not have a race seal on it. A lot of states use thermal imaging. Put your thumb on it and the image disappears. The easiest way to kind of check and see if you got an actual birth certificate now is pick it up and feel it. Put it in your hands. If it feels like a piece of paper, it's probably not a birth certificate. If it feels like a piece of money, like a dollar bill, it may be. Because it's the same type of paper. It has fibers in it. It's a special type of security paper. That's been used for many, many, many years. Do you have a question?
Yeah, is a global entry card, I don't see that on the list here.
That's not proof of identity.
No.
No. Global entry cards are just travel documents. They're temporary travel documents. These are proof of identity. This is your lawful status as far as citizenship and where you were born. All right? Any questions on that? Number one, proof of identity, right? Birth certificate or passport, or one of these documents, a certificate of naturalization, came here and became a citizen. That's what these documents here are, if you're not familiar with them. Some of you, if you were born abroad, you have parents that were stationed in Japan or Germany or something like that, you were born over there, you would have what's called a consular's report. So if you're familiar with that. And these are some of the immigration documents that we accept. Number one, proof of identity. Any questions about the birth certificate? Those are quiet. We'll get to the marriage certificates. That's where the groans come, right? Just an example, that's the Pennsylvania birth certificate, Ohio birth certificate. I mean, I don't know why they put these in there, but it's just some examples of some newer birth certificates. Again, the birth registration. There's a good one too. In fact, we just sold these yesterday. Speaking of the census, since it's kind of a popular topic right now, the census actually used to issue what people believe to be a birth certificate. It is not. Right? It was just simply a document. Again, they issued it to your parents for maybe to get you registered in school. They were being helpful at the time, but it's not a birth certificate. So this is issued by the Census Bureau. It's not going to be acceptable for federal purposes. Okay. Birth registration. Stuff like that. It's birth certificates. Again, they can be issued by the state, county, municipality, whoever takes care of that birth certificate process in the state that you were born in. Again, don't get too caught up in the race seal. If it's older, it has one. That could also get you in trouble as well. Best way to put it, we don't accept notary seals, okay? Notaries do not certify. It's a big difference. Notaries just, they notarize the fact that you signed a document or a particular event took place in their presence type of thing. That's the reason a notary does. You can't have a notary because a lot of people take a copy of the birth certificate to a notary. Don't waste your money. because it's not a valid document, it's still not certified. Social Security card, biggest issue we have when we're seeing people come down. Just want to show you this real quick, laminated, unlaminated, signed or unsigned. I believe a lot of people heard that it could not be laminated when this started. There you go right there, we don't care, as long as you have the actual Social Security card. The name must match. And we'll talk about this a little bit as we go on. Typical scenario, if your name is John Scott John, Social Security card must have John Scott John on it, all right? It can't have Bob. It's gotta have the matching name on it. Now this is a little bit more important. As I said, as we go along, we get into marriage certificates and those type of things. There's some different scenarios where the name could be a little bit different, but it has to be the actual name that you're using. Be the easiest way to put it. Can't be a nickname, can't be a chosen name, all right? If you need a replacement card, we'll talk about that. These are Social Security cards. Yeah, this is the wrong flip. These are one of the first ones issued, so if you believe you have a Social Security card, you had one of these, believe it or not, they used to look just like this. They all have something similar, even if you got one yesterday, it's very similar to this, maybe a little darker blue. They all have these columns on it, they all have the Social Security seal on it, right? These are Social Security cards. It must be one of these. No other document is accepted. Not your W-2, not any other document that has your Social Security number on it. It has to be one of these, all right? These are not Social Security cards. Medicaid card, no big deal nowadays. They don't even put your Social Security number on there. We used to accept those for people transferring in. But they're not Social Security cards, never were. Believe it or not, that number there may or may not even be your number. This right here is probably one of the biggest issues we see today. This is just a stub that was attached to the Social Security card that you received. Even if you got a Social Security card issued to you yesterday, it comes in a card stock, right? You have to tear it out. If anybody's just received a new Social Security card, it's actually attached to like a postcard, right? You tear it out. Same thing here. Or going way back, they've always been issued that way. This one unfortunately has a number on it. Your parents probably gave you your card again, maybe to go get a job or whatever, and it got lost, right? You've been using this, and it has been acceptable up until this point. Fortunately, it's no longer acceptable. It doesn't have any, these are actually security features that are built into the Social Security card. Some of these columns, even going way back, or they use a special type of ink. If you have a Social Security card, put it in your hand, you can actually feel the difference. Some raised ink on there, that the seal was placed very strategically, and there's some things that are also associated with the wording on there that we look for to make sure they're valid cards.
If you have an initial such as the first one has, full first name, then an initial, do you have to have the name for that?
No,
initial
this
spelled out?
would be a perfectly acceptable example, as long as that's the actual name. It has to be the correct initial. Again, if the L was a confirmation name, for example, that's going to be unacceptable. You're going to have to get a new card. It has to be the actual name. The only other difference, we can talk about this too, because these names here are very frequent. If it's a very easily identifiable nickname, okay? This person's name is Patrice, but if it just happened to be Pat or Patty, right? That's very obvious this is the same person. Edward. Could just say Ed, right? You can't say Robert, right? But it's a very obvious nickname. I'll give you an example. I identified myself as Scott Johnson. That's who I go by. But Scott is actually my nickname. It's my middle name. When I got a real ID, my Social Security card, my bank record, everything my entire life has only ever had Scott Johnson on it. Walk in a real ID. I had to change my bank account, I had to get a new Social Security card, I had to do all that stuff in order to obtain this document because Scott was not my official name. Not on my birth certificate. It is on my birth certificate, but it's my middle name, not my first name. So that's an example of that. Scott not being very obvious, okay? It's my middle name, but it didn't exist here, so I had to go get a new Social Security card.
Junior is a tag.
I'm sorry?
Junior, JR.
Junior's okay on the Social Security card.
Right.
If it's not on your birth certificate or your passport, it will not be on the real ID. It's not that big of an issue anymore. They were struggling with that at first. But unless it's on the actual document, if it's on your license now, we're gonna take it off. The flip side of that, if junior is on your birth certificate and you're now senior, guess what's gonna be on your license? Junior, because that's part of your birth name. Yes, ma'am.
You said bank account must match the name?
Yes, everything that we're talking about here, your proof of identity, your social security card, and the mail, all has the same name on it.
How about birth certificate has Rose Mary, Mary's middle name? But my entire life, I've always been Rosemary, no middle name. Everything else has Rosemary.
Unfortunately, it has to be your middle name now. That's one of those situations where, again, for the state, we don't care. You can keep it like that for the rest of your life, it doesn't bother us. But for real ID.
I never
we're
even
gonna
knew it was a
separate.
middle name until I got married.
It's quite common. Quite common.
Yeah, so I have to change everything,
You're gonna need to change your social security card.
that's all?
And as long as the mail has those names on there, or we can match it up, you'll be okay in the mail. But you're gonna need to get a new social security card, where the names are gonna have to be separated, or added, whatever you have there.
Well, it says Rosemary, but it's not.
But it's all one name.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
Well,
can
one
separate it just like it is in the birth certificate. Do you have a passport?
no.
Sometimes if you got a
Easier to-
passport
is it
a long
easier?
time ago, they may have made it match.
Okay.
Even going back to confirmation name, if it's on your passport, that's okay. If you've got those names on a passport, that's fine. Don't let it expire.
Right.
Is
Once it
easier to
expires,
get a
it's done.
passport? Is it easier to get a passport than this?
About the same documents.
Oh, so it wouldn't, you'd still have to be.
It's kind of a loaded question, because it just depends on what you need it for. You know, we were talking about that a little bit earlier. Some people like to compare the money too. You can't really compare $30 to $90. The $30 is only gonna get you whatever you have in your license, right, 4 years? $90 gets you 10 years. So in order to do the math correctly, you would almost have to renew your license 3 times, which is going to be more than the passport now. It just depends what you're using it for. Passport's gonna be more important, to get you anywhere in the world. This is only gonna get you to Chicago, or LA, or somewhere within the continent of the United States.
Can I just mention, since we're a passport acceptance facility, your case there, it won't matter whether you use Rosemary as one word or Rosemary separate.
So you're saying it's better just to get a passport probably?
I'm just saying that the requirements are different, yeah.
So
Or
they
a
would-
passport card?
Or a
Would a
passport card, yeah, you don't need a book, right.
Passport card
mean
is
the
actually the way to
library
go
is
if
a
you already have a
passport?
passport,
Yeah.
because then that solves both your problems here.
Yeah.
Not that I said that.
We didn't hear from you.
Can you rewind?
Yeah.
I have a quick question, so I'm following. So your driver's license, you don't get a new real ID, you're just updating your driver's license that will indicate that it's a real ID, is that
Correct.
right? Okay.
Correct. It's not gonna be a separate one.
Right.
Well, we are kind of replacing it. You're gonna give us your old one, we're gonna give you a new
And
one.
there's gonna be a symbol that says that's your real ID?
Correct. I'll show you, got a picture of that here too.
Okay.
I'll show you that. Number 2, everybody understand the social security card?
Regarding having your names match exactly on each document, I have a passport that has my middle name spelled out, my social security card has my middle name spelled out. My Pennsylvania driver's license just has my middle initial.
Correct.
Right now, when I go for, to fly, I register when I book my ticket with the name that I'm going to use on the ID that I'm going to use. If I fly domestically, I use only my middle initial because I use my driver's license. If I fly internationally, I use my full middle name because I'll be using my passport. Would it be advisable to, when I get my driver's license renewed this summer, to have them put, instead of just my middle initial, my full middle name? Do they have to match, in other words, or is it
Polite
best
way of
if
answering
they
that
do?
is yes,
Okay.
but
And that
unfortunately,
can be
we're
done
gonna
eas-
make it match whether you like it or not.
Oh, okay, so they wouldn't leave
So
just.
you're one of those people we actually created Real ID for, so you're, you're like 2 different names. But actually, that's a good example. If that middle name is on that passport, it will be on your Real ID,
Okay.
right? Now, if you just had the middle initial on your passport, you wanna keep it, that's fine.
No, I'd like to have it all spelled, fully anyways. I don't know why.
It should moving forward anyway, and that's a good thing. If you do travel and you have a passport, I mean, it should be matching anyway. I mean, that's kind of the world we're headed for. October 1st, that's the world we're gonna be in, right? Everything's gonna match.
I'm surprised you just don't do a fingerprint on your real ID.
Everybody understand what the social security card does? It has to be the social security card, the only thing I can stress. Don't try to interpret any other document, it will not work. It must be that card. If you do not have a card, you're gonna need to get one. The easiest way to do that is, if you have a computer, just want to visit the local social security office, that's fine. State rep's office could probably help you out with at least locating it, right?
Absolutely.
Third thing you need is the easiest one of all, proof of residency. Do not ever think this. If you are a Pennsylvania resident, you have to be in order to get a real ID. You either have a license or ID card now, right? There's one proof of residency right there. There's your name and address on it. If you drive, the second one's out in your car, or should be. I'm judging. It should be, your vehicle registration, your proof of insurance, right in the car. Anything that has your official, or official mail that has your name and address on it, anything is accepted, all right? The only thing that's not accepted would be like some type of handwritten personal letter, you know, the Christmas cards you get from grandma, not acceptable. I'm not telling my grandmother that, but it's because it's handwritten. Anything that's printed on there, even a magazine. All you get in the mail is a magazine. Has your name and address on it, bring it in. That'll work just fine. The point being, you've already established this. If you're already a Pennsylvania resident, we're trying to make this as easy as possible, and the feds are okay with that. We're not establishing that you're coming here from a different state. If you are, that's a whole different scenario, and you're going to be showing these documents anyway. Again, we're back to the name. I will point out, when we're talking about a 911 address, if you have a rural route or a P.O. box on your mail, one of those folks that's going to need to change a piece of mail to get your physical address on there. All right? Those rules have changed. Actually, those rules changed a couple years ago, so we may have already caught up with you if you've had that on the license before. If you want a P.O. box, that's fine. We can keep it on there. But for the proof of residency, we have to add an actual street address on there. Okay? That's actually the state and federal rules for that. It's kind of weird. My mom lives out in central PA, and all they have are rural routes out there, but when they put this in, they had to create these addresses, and her box number is like 10 digits long. It's insane. They really got creative with that one. But everybody has a street address now. Everybody. If you were to call 911 and you need help, where are those people going? You certainly don't want them to go to the post office, right? Well, some people might. Not me. I just point out again, W-2. It's okay for proof of residency because it has your address on it. It's not good for Social Security. Okay? It just caused a little bit of confusion there. That's really the 3 items you need. Everybody remember what they were? Proof of residency? Social Security card? 2 proofs of residency, right? I said 3, but it's actually 4. That's like government math. We like to keep you guessing a little bit. Now, from this point on, we're going to talk about marriage certificates. Please don't beat me up over this. It's not me. If your marriage certificate is not signed by the county clerk, it is not an official marriage certificate. Okay? Not too much burn. Just take another wrap of that. If your marriage certificate was signed by the preacher, pastor, judge, justice of the peace, the mayor, some captain on a cruise ship somewhere, they cannot certify the marriage certificate. State of Pennsylvania, it must be signed by the county clerk. If it's not the official marriage certificate. And unfortunately for Real ID, we have to have the official version of that. Again, you may have brought us the other one, and we changed your name on your marriage certificate, Social Security, do it in a heartbeat. But for Real ID purposes, it's not going to work. If they have some samples on here, if it looks similar to this, got some decorative features on it, check the signature. This one's signed by the pastor. It's not a certified marriage certificate. should look more similar to that one over there. Now, every county is just slightly different, but you can even tell that's even more official looking, right? It was issued by the county clerk. They look like court documents, but that's exactly what they are. Now, I can only speak for PA. It doesn't matter where you got married, it depends on where you purchased the license, all right? If you bought the license here, this is Chester County, right? We're still in
Yes.
Chester County? If you went down to Chester County, you guys go to Westchester?
Yeah.
Really?
That's where the
Wow, a little
courthouse
bit of a hike.
Yeah.
Just, I guess we're in the northern part of the county.
We are.
I should know that, I'm
Almost
actually
the
from down.
border,
So.
yeah.
If you went down to Chester County and you purchased your marriage license because you want to get married, but you flew to the Bahamas, right? You flew to Europe, flew to wherever, right? And you got married. Those documents still have to make their way back to the county courthouse in order to be certified. Because that's where you purchased the license. On the flip side of that, you took that same trip and you met somebody and got married the same day. Maybe one of those Las Vegas people, right? You lost that license, guess where you need to go to get your marriage certificate? Las Vegas. Maybe I'll do that by phone. I think I'd better go there. But you get the point, wherever you purchase a license to get married, that's where you have to obtain the official marriage certificate, all right? Please take a look at the one that you have. Especially if you're married here in PA, if it's not signed by the county clerk, it's not gonna be acceptable, all right?
It's not signed, you're not married?
No, I tried that. It didn't work. It didn't work for me
Can you
either.
get a replacement if you
Like
go?
25 years, really? Without?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't that
You
do?
have to go to the,
Well, that I don't know.
Good try, though.
you have to go to the courthouse to get a copy of it?
Depends on the county. Have you guys dealt with any in Chester County?
I don't know that.
I'm
some
Bucks
of them do it
County. I was
online.
Bucks County when I
You were
got
Bucks.
Yeah, some of them do it online, some of them do it.
You can
You have to
too.
be in person. Most of them have gone the online route.
there. County clerk is what you go to?
Yeah. Chester County, I believe it's the prothonotary. Now, maybe a different department. Some of them are Department of Deeds or something like that, or, but just ask for the county clerk. You tell them what you're looking for, they'll get you the right place.
You know,
Chester County,
there's
pretty
some
sure it's prothonotary.
scammers out there with Real ID, because I had to get my credit card reissued because I went online to try to get some documents, and it said, we'll get your documents for you, and it was a scam, so.
Yes,
Just have to watch
well,
out for that
I mean,
too.
it's like with anything else. In fact, let's talk about that for just a second. If you need to get a birth certificate, what I would recommend is see the young lady in the back here,
Definitely can help you.
because they can help you. They can actually obtain it quicker than you do too, than you can, believe it or not, if you do this on your own. Because think about this, Real ID is taking place nationwide, right? There are a lot of people that need birth certificates. I believe the wait time for Department of Health is what, 6 months, somewhere around that neck of the woods, but those guys, what do you, couple
I
weeks?
mean, yeah, 2 to 3
Couple
weeks.
You also avoid the fraud. There are some online people out there that do it. There's one agency, I forget what they're called, ID Notify or something like that. There is an official website out there that does it, but I don't recommend it because if you're not very familiar with what you're doing, you're gonna end up in those situations just like that. That's your birth records. In order to obtain those birth records, you're gonna have to give some pretty sensitive information. I don't know about you, but I'm not happy doing that online anyway, right? There's already enough of me out there. I would just recommend going to state rep's office would be the best way to take care of that. I think we kind of skipped over one. We're done. Everybody get the marriage certificate? Do you have a question about that, or?
Yeah, I think we have that one.
You have this one here.
And we were married in Delaware,
That's where you're gonna have to go. Where'd you buy the license though?
in Delaware.
That's where you're gonna have to go. Where, the best advice I can tell you is just go where you purchased the license.
But you said we might be able to do it online.
Yeah, I mean, you check it out, I don't know about Delaware. Again, even with PA, check it out, just be careful, make sure. If I'm looking online, I'm going to the county courthouse website or the county website and start there. Because if you start doing record
Just a
searches and that
search,
type
yeah.
of thing, that's where you're gonna end up with those lists of maybe some not so credible websites.
That's what happened to me. So you have to show a divorce certificate too?
Not sure
Just
what
the
they
marriage.
require to get that.
But you don't have to show both, just the marriage.
Oh, you're talking about for us?
Yeah,
I'm
for
sorry,
the
I'm already
name
pawned you off.
Not for the name change, you just have to show
Yes,
the marriage, not the divorce.
Good point. If you've been married 10 times, I'm not judging. Depending on where you're at, what name you're using, you may need to show us 10 different documents to get us from your birth name to the current name that you're using. Could be one, It could be 10, just depends on what you decided to do. Some people have gotten creative, or took out a middle name earlier where you've taken your maiden name. Some people have taken previous husband's names and made those middle names. Depending on what you're using, we need an official document that gets us from your birth name to the name that you want to use. It's the easiest way to remember that. Be it marriage certificate, divorce decree, death certificate, legal name change. Some people just didn't like their name, so they legally changed it. Those official documents get us from birth name to the name that we're using now. That make sense? This is a big one. It really is. I would also, do you guys look at documents for people? You offer
Yeah, we
that?
do.
I would recommend if you're even questioning a document, visit your local state rep's office and have them check them out for you. You guys are more than welcome to come to any driver's license center. You really are. I absolutely invite you. Have you been to one recently?
Yeah,
Yeah.
good times.
Would you rather do that or spend 5 minutes down at their office first? Because if you do that, I don't want to see you waiting an hour and a half, 2 hours. And it's always 3 hours, right?
Yeah, hour and a half.
To only be turned away because you don't have the correct document.
Yeah.
They're at least
Where's the
versed enough.
office? Is this the office?
Any question?
Paoli?
Yes.
Yeah,
the
I need a couple
42 East
addresses. I guess the
Langston.
local one, I got to Malvern this morning, took me about
That was the
15
photo
minutes or
driver's
so. It's
license.
actually pretty close.
Yeah.
You may be actually physically closer to Norristown,
King of
King
Prussia.
of Prussia.
King of Prussia.
It's about equal distance.
Oh,
I'm
But
not a
then
big
also
highway
the
guy, and I
Oaks.
wasn't going anywhere near that 422, 202 corridor, so depending on the day, I'll give it his addresses. King of Prussia is probably the place to go.
That's the driver's license center. The state rep's office is the Paoli address that's on your handout.
What about Oaks?
Oaks is also, we have more limited hours at Oaks. But yeah, just give us a call and we'll make sure we're there
This is
whenever you
state-
need us.
You're looking at this side
But
here,
you
this is
have,
from the
you
state
have a
rep.
sign on the one building here, which used to be Royal Bank, on 23.
Oh, that's Rep. Shusterman's campaign office.
Oh,
It is
okay.
confusing, sorry about
Yeah,
that, yeah.
okay.
that's what I was always wondering what that was.
Yeah.
This is a very quick slide. Some of you fall into this category. If you have a valid US passport, if your social security card matches that name and that passport, and the mail matches that name, that's all you need, regardless of the 10, 12, 50 marriages. If you've already taken those steps and changed that name and that passport, the social security card has already been changed to match the passport. You've already done the work. Don't even bring that other stuff. Everything matches, that's all we need, right? That work? Well, except for, again, we're gonna expand your middle name out, but other than that, you're good to go, it matches. How do you get a real ID? You can't apply online. We sent postcards out to people that were issued a license after 2003. I would encourage that if you haven't done that. If you did get that card, just go online, it takes about 2 seconds, and they'll start to search. I don't know how long it takes to get any feedback from that, but it's really easy to do that. Easiest way to do it, again, is come down and visit us. Right? I know that's not what you want to hear. Again, if you're not quite sure, if you're not 100% sure you got the correct documents, go see them first, at least let them take a look at it. They're pretty versed in what we're looking for before you spend the time with us. You're only gonna have to do this once though, right? Come down, you show us your documents, you pay that $60.50, we're gonna issue your real ID. Now, depending on where you go, it could be one of these centers or the 12 real ID centers we have across the state. Malvern, a good example, if you went there, all you're gonna walk out with is what we call a receipt, a white piece of paper that just says you applied for it. You get the real ID in the mail, about 3 to 5 days. I think I'm supposed to tell you 7 to 10 days, but that process is actually working flawlessly. We've issued hundreds of thousands of them. It's never been an issue. Everybody's getting it really quickly. If you've ever done your renewals in the mail, I do all mine in the mail, cars, registrations, all that stuff. I've never had a problem. It's actually the best way to do it. Again, I work for PennDOT. I'm doing my stuff in the mail. I don't know about you guys. Still gonna wait in the same line. We do have 12 centers we added statewide. King of Prussia in this area is one of them. These 4 centers right here are in my area, which is King of Prussia, Norristown, South Summit down in Philly, Whitehall up in the Allentown area. These 2 right here are probably the 2 that are most important to you guys, more specifically probably King of Prussia.
Right.
If you're familiar with Norristown, I would go to King of Prussia, all right? And I don't typically recommend going one way or the other. You should go to your local one, but King of Prussia if you've been at Malvern, we have, I want to say 7 different workstations there that can help you. At King of Prussia, I have about 15.
Yeah.
I had a friend who just did a January one, the license was due at King of Prussia, hour and a half, that was it.
Really, that's even long for that. Wow.
Well, just their time to travel.
Oh, for travel and everything.
10 o'clock in
Okay.
the morning,
Right.
back in an hour and
Now,
a half.
see, in January, you probably got really lucky,
Yeah.
because this was a brand-new driver's license center. It was added just for real ID purposes, okay? So not a lot of people know where it is, or at the time, did know where it is. The word is getting out. But it's really easy to get to. I mean, if you're familiar with the area, just up 202, it's that first red light, it's South Gulf Road. You just make a right, and it's literally right there behind the hotel. You're gonna drive about 100, 150 feet.
Just one quick question. Mine's due for renewal in October. Can I just do everything now?
Yep. Yes.
Just down King of Prussia?
Were you here when I started tonight?
Just checking it out, yeah.
You're testing me, that's what,
I just-
yes, you can do it now.
I have all the documents, just take it down and take my license.
In fact, I'm glad you said, because the October date is pretty important, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Do not wait till October.
Because that's when my license is for renewal.
But do this now. If you're considering about getting a real ID, do it now, do not wait.
Gotcha.
All right? Because I will say, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, you guys are the smart ones. Think about this. You're at least inquiring. You're asking about this, right? You're seeking information. You've heard about this. You're at least looking into it. There are still people out there that don't know what real ID is. Can you imagine what next Thanksgiving travel season is going to be like? I keep going back to that Thanksgiving because that's going to be the biggest hit, where people are going to show up. I'm going to visit my grandmother, and they're not going to let you on an airplane because you don't have any type of federally approved identification. Don't be one of them. Doesn't matter, his is October. Let me say again, if your license expires 4 years from now, you just renewed it, go down and do it again. You go down, that's actually my example. I walked out with a real ID that's valid for 7.5 years. Now, it cost me a little bit because I'm the CDL, but I'm happy with that. Again, I work for PennDOT, 7.5 years, I don't have to go back and get my picture taken. I'm okay with that. I don't know about you, but I'm okay with that. Not that we don't want you to.
If you have a PA, if you get your PA real ID and you move out of state to a different state, my daughter's anticipating doing that, to Virginia. If she has a PA real ID, when she moves to Virginia, will it be easier for her to get the Virginia real ID?
They're gonna need to see the same documents all over again.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
In fact, it even take a step further, once she moves down, if you come back to PA, you're gonna have to go through that whole process all over again. Now, there's one example where you've actually given up your real ID, so the one-time fee no longer applies, you gave it up. Once you've given it up, you gotta pay to get back in.
Okay.
Now, that's the only way you can lose that star, is you come down to the center and you physically tell us you don't wanna be a part of this program anymore. And we're actually gonna make you sign a document and remove that star of your license. Or if you give up your PA license, you move out of state and you surrender it to another license. But every state's just a little bit different. We like to think we're doing it right. I figured that from your way up. Key thing to remember with the hours, just wanted to point this out while I'm here because a lot of people still get confused with this Monday thing. Every driver's license center in the state is open from Tuesday through Saturday. I think there's one exception out in Pittsburgh or something like that, but pretty much every driver's license center is Tuesday through Saturday, 8:30 to 4:15. We offer Monday hours. That's for the people who have renewed their license online or in the mail. You got a camera card, right? So all you need is just a picture. That's the only thing they can do for you on Monday. Malvern's another good example where we actually offer Thursday evening hours as well. That's for pictures only, okay? Our business, 8:30 to 4:15. It's the only time you can obtain any type of driver's license services. Only time you can obtain a real ID, all right? We don't do them on Monday. Mondays, they can't make any changes. They can't do anything that license other than take a picture and hand it back to you.
So if my regular license expires in October, and I'm gonna continue to use my passport, you're telling me to go in on Monday? In October, it won't be so crowded as Tuesday.
Well, you need to renew it online, though. You need to get that
Yeah,
camera
but
card.
to just go in and get the photo.
Absolutely. I would encourage that.
Monday would
If
be
you're
the-
not planning on doing anything, just follow your normal
Monday would be
cycle.
the best day of the week.
Do Mondays or the Thursday evening is a beautiful thing. I mean, because we're closed. People walk in that center about 5 o'clock, there's nobody there, you can get your picture taken in and out about 5 minutes. Monday's pretty much a short bet,
Okay.
but the evening hours are there, you know, if you're working, you may not have any other option. I will tell you, the best time to visits are gonna be between Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, kinda iffy, but Wednesday, Thursdays in the afternoon are the best time to visit us, all right? Think about it, we're closed on Mondays. So Tuesdays are very, very busy for us because we do 2 days of business in one, all right? Saturdays, everybody in the world thinks that nobody's going to the DMV on Saturdays. Quite the opposite, because everybody's thinking that, everybody goes there. But it's really the only day, if you have children, you work during the week, kids are in school, got, son or daughter was going to get the learner's permit, that's really the only day they have. So it's kind of a, I wouldn't go on Saturday unless you absolutely have to. If you work on Saturdays, I would take leave to come see us. It's a very, very, very busy day. If you do have to go on Saturdays, and it's just for yourself, the best time to do that would be later in the afternoon. Again, Saturdays, everybody's trying to get in and get out and go on about their business. If you do have to, because you work or whatever, there's reasons for that. Just, if you could wait till the afternoon, later in the day, Saturday, it's going to be a lot less crowded. King of Prussia, that's the place to go. As of March 1st, we're considered a Real ID state. We have received our federal certification. These are old licenses, new licenses, pre-March 1st, after March 1st. If you don't have a Real ID, you have one of these. These are slowly going away. I believe this is the last year you'll ever see these again. We don't issue them anymore. If you happen to have one, when you renew it, this is a license that you get. I just want to show this because when we started issuing this license, it's just it's a typical security update, which we do from time to time, right? But when we started issuing this, guess what the hot topic of the day was? Same thing as today. Real ID. Real ID hit the news. We're a year away or 2 years out. TSA was actually stopping people at the airport and kind of going on this Real ID rant. So the reason I point that out is if you've got this, you do not have a Real ID. But if you know somebody that believes they have it because they got with a newer license, they probably do not. Again, if you did not ask for a Real ID, you don't have one. Some people just believe they got it. They renewed it, they got the newer version.
Right.
Everybody's talking about
It
Real
looks like
ID,
it.
so they just assume, oh, this must be the Real ID, the newer version. Gold Star. You give us that license, we give you this one back if you're asking for a Real ID. If it doesn't have this Gold Star, it's not a Real ID. All right? This means you showed us your documents, paid your money, did everything you could, we give you this one back. If you do not want Real ID, again, that's perfectly acceptable. You don't need to do anything. But when you renew your license, you're going to get this version here. I just like to point that out to people because some people freak out about it. Not for Real ID purposes. All that means is this version of your license or ID cannot be used to board an aircraft. That's it. It's still a valid Pennsylvania license. It's still good for the bank or wherever you use ID cards for today. All right? You just can't use it for the Real ID purposes.
When you renew your Real ID license, when you renew, are the fees going to be the same as the first time?
No.
It's in
It's
perpetuity?
going to be less because you won't pay the $30 again.
So it's in perpetuity once you play the first
Right,
30?
for
Just
Real ID.
renewal, right.
Gotcha.
The only thing I point out about that, I forgot to talk about that earlier, it says $30.50 now for a car license, right? That's today's fee. I'm gonna point that out, because if you had a Pennsylvania license long enough, I remember they were $10 just not so long ago. Every year they tend to kind of go up, so just don't hold me that $30. Again, if you have a spaceship license, I have no idea what they cost.
Does the card, is there a chip inside the card? Does it get scanned at certain places automatically?
The chip inside the,
In the card? Is there something in,
The life-
we don't have a chip.
there's nothing in it?
No, there's no, we've never had a chip.
All right,
The only thing that's on the back of these licenses, if you have one, it's a 3D barcode, which has to be physically read by the machine.
right, and then it has to be scanned. I don't know, I was reading something, or maybe something that said that, certain places you walk by, it'll read like your ID, like even in through your purse, like there's.
Maybe some of the old ones, that blue and gold one, has a magnetic strip on the back.
All right,
But that's kind of ancient technology, I mean, I guess.
okay,
I don't know, I'd be more concerned about the credit cards that have the chip in, I think what they
Right.
refer to.
right,
They have scanners that they can,
yeah.
I forget what they call that, near field something,
And
or,
that's why, yeah, and then
I'm
you
not an
have
IT guy, but-
special wallets for that.
yeah.
Or
I did mine, I bought the wallet.
Oh, really?
Everything else going on,
Yeah.
an extra $1 for a wallet,
Yeah.
peace of mind, I was okay with
Yeah.
it. But there's no chip on the PA license.
Why is there a little ID photo duplicate on the.
This here?
Yeah.
That's a security feature. That's what we call a ghost image. You cannot counterfeit that.
Okay.
We started that on this version of the license here. Basically, when you go down and get your picture taken, this is your photo. We simply take that image digitally, and this image here is actually inlaid into the plastic below the laminate. This one here is actually part of the laminating process. I don't want to say it can't be duplicated, but for,
Somebody will always.
you'd have to have a pretty sophisticated operation for anybody to get your license. Realistically, there's a lot of fear about losing your license if anybody can take your identity or anything like that. But if you look at your driver's license, there's really nothing on there. We've never used social security numbers on your license, so it's secure that way. And unless somebody looks a whole lot like you, it's not like you can really use it for anything. You know, if you're 20 years old, I guess, and somebody looks like you, they can go down and buy a pack of cigarettes or something maybe. There's not a whole lot you're doing with this. I would get it replaced. I mean, I don't want to think of, if I'm a sophisticated criminal, I have no idea what they can or can't do, but there's really not a whole lot of information on here. And when you replace it, anybody ever lost their license? No? When you do replace it, see this little number up here? It's still on every license. We keep track of it. It's actually part of your driver's license number. This one's 00. If you've lost your license, you go down and get one, it's going to change to a 1. If somebody's using the 00 and it's scanned by law enforcement or anybody at the airport, it's not a valid license. And it's going to show up right down there. If you've lost it 5 times, you're going to have a 5 there. So that's how we kind of keep track of that. It's one of those ways to shut the kids down, if they're selling their license to go into bars. Unless you got the last one that was issued, it's not going to work. So,
Will the bar, like the bouncers actually have a legitimate, like a?
just about everyone does, yeah. I was amazed at that too.
Wow, I thought they just have the ticker and look at
No,
the
they
beer.
scan them. I mean, I guess for them, you think about the liability.
Right.
Yeah.
They let somebody underage and they're drinking, they're liable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they actually got the handheld versions. They sit there at the door and just scan your license. It's quite common. It's quite common for anyone 21, 22, 23 to just sell their license.
Well, they do it at the
I'll sell you this for
wine
$50. I'll go down and just get a new one.
If you have a license and a passport, can you fly anywhere?
Yep, passport gets you anywhere. Good way to go. But this license, again, it's for domestic travel only. You can't even drive to Canada with this. You're not driving to anywhere. You're across the border.
Isn't it required to enter government buildings though?
Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, the easiest way to know that is by asking you a question. Do you go anywhere today that requires you to have a special identification card? If you don't, then it doesn't apply. And I don't even really like discussing that because we use the term federal buildings. It's very misleading, all right? You do not need a real ID to get down to Social Security. You will not need it to go to the post office or anything that you access now,
Right.
all right? And also, not to make light of it, but think of it like this. If I get notification for federal jury duty and I don't have a real ID, is that gonna get me out of it?
Nope.
I don't think so, right? Right?
But would you need to take a passport?
If I'm a criminal and I commit a federal crime, you think they're gonna take me in the federal courthouse because I don't have a real ID? Yeah, I don't think so, right? I mean, I don't mean to make light of those type of situations, but if they're not asking for a specific ID, specific type of ID now, then you don't need it. And I'll even counter that by saying, if you happen to go to the county courthouse to get your marriage certificate, they don't do an identification check. They do a security check. It's a little different. They might ask you for ID, but they'll take any type of ID, even their own. The county issues IDs, right? It doesn't have to be a federally approved ID.
So if you're going for jury duty, you don't need the real ID, you could just use your driver's.
Correct.
Regular
Same
driver's
thing they do
license.
now, right?
I mean, I have a passport, would I have to take it there?
Right.
If it was jury duty?
I wouldn't think so, no. Those rules are not gonna change at all. But it's the same thing with going to Social Security. You don't need any special ID. Now, they might need it because it's gonna help them identify you to get your number or benefits or something like that. It's helpful, but it's not required, right?
We went on a bus trip, we went to the Capitol in Harrisburg, and they said we needed ID.
That's something they're doing
And they
locally
looked
though.
at me.
I mean, that's a private business. unfortunately, they can do what they wanna do, but,
It would just be your license
yeah,
or
whatever they require, again, that's a private business.
I actually heard that some airports in this country are already requiring people to have a real ID.
I don't know if it's true or not, I know they started that, that's why we're in
instead of.
the place we are in today. The TSA tried
No.
that, but unfortunately,
At least the
federal
real
law says
ID.
October 1st, that's their rules,
Right.
not ours.
Right.
So if that happens to you, I whip at that October 1st date, that's their date. And that date comes from TSA, that's not our date. That's the date that they gave us to tell you that if you don't have a real ID, we're gonna stop you.
So regardless of whether you have a real ID or not, you don't advise trying to travel on October 1. Don't book any airline tickets for October 1.
I didn't say that, but I can't imagine what it's gonna look like. I
It's
just
crazy
just
there.
really can't imagine that. Yes, I mean, I'm sure there's terms for that I can't even think of right now. Chaos, for some reason, I don't think fits.
Yeah.
I can give you some websites if you want them. Of course, ours, you don't have to worry about the slash real ID, just go to PennDOT.gov or PA.gov. Trust me, you go to an official Pennsylvania website, you're gonna see something about real ID, all right? It's the topic of the day. That'll just get you there a little quicker if you're familiar with it. If you have a form, or believe you have a form of federal ID that may be accepted, best place to go is right there, DHS.gov. There are some other cards that are accepted. A valid military ID would be one of them. Now, again, valid military ID is just that. It's not an ID from the VA. It's an actual valid uniform military identification card that has an expiration date on it. Big difference there, okay? Just because I was in the Army and I got my ID card from 20 years ago, that's not a valid military ID. The card I got from the VA is not a valid military ID. But that's the place to go, either DHS or TSA, they'll get you in those. You need the Social Security website, SSA.gov. Sometimes a replacement card is very simple and you can do it online. I don't know, I went down, I had to go down and do mine because I was doing a name change. As long as you're not doing any changes, I think you can do it online. It's just, have you done it?
Only if the name is, if you're not changing the.
Not doing just a simple replacement,
Right,
yeah.
you'll replace it.
That's the key to it.
That's it.
If there's no changes whatsoever, I think you can order online. If you need to update your name or something like that, you're obviously gonna have to go down there and show them the documents that they need. They'll take just about anything. The only thing I would tell you is if you do have to go that route, and you have to get on Social Security and get a name change, please make it match your official name. And I'm only telling you that because, not to make light of Social Security or anything, they drive us crazy. They ask for all these documents, and then people still show up with a nickname on a Social Security card. Don't fall for that. It has to match your official name, or we're just gonna reject it again. They're still doing that, so I just wanna put that out there. That's really all I got, guys. Great group.
Thank you.
I give them my middle name, my first initial. It's just
Same as me. You're gonna have to have it expanded out.
I don't know who they're talking about.
Well,
Talking
you
to-
have your marriage, you have your birth certificate?
Yeah.
So the first initial is just on the license now at this point, or?
I've had signed the bank and everything.
Your signature doesn't change, your signature's fine, but whatever name is on your birth certificate or your passport, whatever you're
My
gonna use,
social security is full name.
that's fine. But you have the right documents, we're gonna expand it out in your license, so. The middle initial goes, the first initial goes away, it's gonna be a full name. My case, I had to add the whole thing, have the R on there. I'll leave you with this one piece of advice, and I'll use myself as an example. We were talking about Thanksgiving and planning the trips. I have a large family. I have 7 brothers. We are scattered out all over across the United States. I got a brother in Seattle, Chicago, and a couple cities down south. We're all over the place, right? This is why I got a real ID. It's not for the planned trips.
I know, I don't like
If
my.
I have a family emergency after October 1st, the last thing I need to be doing is looking for a darn passport. I have what I need right here to get on a plane and go take care of business. That's what we need to think about. The military thing, like I mentioned at the beginning, if you know anybody who is joining the service or already in any branch of service, you're thinking about visiting them, you may want to get a real ID. You're going to have something. Now, I like talking about that around here because in Pennsylvania, you guys are familiar with Willow Grove, right? I don't know if you've traveled south as far as like Fort Meade. These were open bases. You could drive right through them, nobody stopped you. Not any longer. Those days are gone. You need some type of federally approved ID to get through those. The main one is try to think, what happens in the case of emergency, be prepared for that. Because if you're one of these people that keep your passport in a bank vault somewhere, and this emergency happens on a Saturday afternoon, you're not going anywhere, right? I mean, if it's national, you gotta get out of the country, that's one thing, but if you only gotta get, if I gotta get to Seattle on a Sunday afternoon, I got what I need, right? Right to the airport, get me out of here. That's why I would just recommend that. Just try to keep those in mind. Start to plan trips, what happens in case of emergency, because after October 1st, that's the world we're in, right?
So there's no other document that should accompany a real ID going through a domestic airport?
Nope, just as long as you got the real
So
ID, you're good.
a real ID is gonna be a hot commodity, like for
It
that.
absolutely is. It
Just
is
as
now,
passports are,
right, it is now.
right? So
that-
you have to make sure that when you're using it at a store, that everybody waits and not forgets to bring it home, you know, it gets left behind.
Yeah, you're gonna wanna keep, you're gonna wanna protect it just as much as a passport.
Yeah.
It's going to be a pretty valuable document.
Right,
You're right. Because again, if I look similar to you,
exactly.
I mean, you know,
That's
I mean,
all you need.
it
That's
could
all
be,
you
it. I mean, like,
And then it's you who did that, you know what I mean, or whatever,
right.
yeah, so guard it.
International flight, that's all you need, is a real ID?
No, you don't need a passport for that.
Well, yeah,
Real
Domestic,
ID is domestic
I have a
only,
passport, yeah.
right? You can fly to Alaska, but you can't drive back.
Can't land in Canada on your way to Alaska.
Exactly. It don't stop on the way there, right? I always kind of like that. It makes you think. You can actually fly to Alaska with real ID, but you can't drive back. Because you cross the border with a passport.
You do it from Michigan up through
But
Canada
it's
and
not
back.
Canada who wants that passport.
It's the US, so when you can't come back, right?
Yeah.
So you can drive to Canada now. The problem is getting back into the country, because that's where they're gonna ask for the US
Never give
passport.
up your passport.
We found that at the hard way, walking.
Yeah.
Walked across the bridge, they wouldn't let us back.
Oh, boy.
That was-
You
that
don't
was-
think it, you know?
Yeah, no, it's a fun trip. It's like spending 3 hours on a bridge in a little ice pool.
Well, Scott, thank you
You're very welcome.
so much.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you all for coming. Help yourself to literature on our state representative table. I have my cards if anybody wants to stop by our office and have us look at your documents, we'll be happy to do that. We have, our main office is in Paoli, which is open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And then we do have an Oaks location, which if you live in Phoenixville may be more convenient. I'm out there on Tuesday mornings from 9 a.m. to noon, but I can also make appointments if that's not a convenient time for you. And that's it. Just thanks to Mark and to Phoenixville Library for hosting us here.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, but